So I'm pretty sure it's no secret by now, based on the fact that I've posted 2 videos on this topic in the past, and the obvious gear being worn right now, that I am a native of Toronto, which makes me a Toronto Raptors fan, which makes me really fucking angry to see what's going on with the team right now. The Raptors, 2 weeks ago, were sitting in second place. About a month ago, we were sitting in second place by several games. Like, we were a game and a half back at Cleveland, about 4 or 5 games up on Boston. We're now in fourth. We have gone, I think we've lost 10 out of our last 14. And it's not like we're losing to teams like San Antonio and Memphis. And yes, we have lost to those teams along the way, but we're not losing to like Golden State. We haven't faced Cleveland that time. We've lost to teams like Philadelphia, Orlando, twice, Phoenix, Charlotte, and last night, Detroit. I am really getting sick and tired of this fucking losing. And you know what? At first I thought that we could get ourselves out of this. And I'm very quickly figuring out that it's not really anything to do with any of the injury. It's not really anything to do with the players. It's that Dwane Casey is still stuck in 2011 thinking that the game is still the same fucking way it was when he was defensive coordinator for the fucking Mavericks. What I mean by that is, for those of you who don't know, Dwane Casey was the defensive specialist coach for the 2010-2011 NBA champion Dallas Mavericks. And he plays defense the same fucking way he did against LeBron in the finals. One problem is that a lot has changed since then. Keep in mind, 2010-2011, Steph Curry was in his second year. No one thought he was going to be an MVP. No one thought he was going to be a multi-time All-Star, revolutionize the game like he has, and teams would just start shooting three-pointers galore. And unfortunately, we've seen this for the last several years with Casey. Going back 2 years ago in the playoffs, when we got swept by Washington, when we should have probably beaten Washington in a 5-game series. The problem is that back then, Casey was so stubborn he would just outright refuse to go small ball, which is why Otto Porter and Paul Pierce shredded us the entire playoff series, and why we got swept. They went small, we stayed big, and it just didn't fucking work. Last year, hey, we did well. We got to the conference championship. We won our first best-of-7 playoff series ever. I mean, that's a good start. We gave him a contract extension. We got DeRozan back. You know, things were looking good. Probably going to make the conference championship again this year, right? Nope. Stop it right now. Because here's where the problems have come up with Casey this year. And that is that Dwane Casey is now too reliant on small ball. And he overreacts to go small ball. The moment a team has a slightly smaller lineup than normal, Casey's going small ball, and he's going to try to go smaller than you. So the other team goes big, and Casey stays small. The other night against Timberwolves on Wednesday, yes, we lost to the Timberwolves in a game where we were up by like 15. By the way, we lost last night still being up 15 points in the fourth fucking quarter. As I was saying, when we lost to the Timberwolves, he went with this lineup, and I swear to God I'm not fucking kidding you. Lucas Nogueira, who is 7 feet tall and useless and still gets minutes. Norman Powell, who is 6'3". Fred VanVleet, who is 6'2". Corey Joseph, who is 6'2", and Kyle Lowry, who is 6 feet. You have a 6'3" power forward, who's actually really a shooting guard. And you wonder why that didn't work. See, the problem is that not only are we playing DeRozan and Lowry when they are healthy, just absurd minutes. Lowry's leading the league in minutes per game ahead of LeBron, who everyone is saying needs to, sit down every once in a while. Same thing with Lowry. Lowry's leading the league in minutes. He's fucking exhausted by the time the fourth quarter comes around because he doesn't sit him down. And when I talk about poor lineup management, it gets worse than just playing Norman Powell at the 4. Against Minnesota, Jonas Valanciunas was 8 of 8. He was killing Karl Anthony Towns down on the block. And what was his reward? He didn't, get extra plays run for him in the second half. Keep in mind, that was like in the first half, he was 8 of 8. His reward was he got to sit on the bench for 75% of the second half. No real idea why. We instead decided to go with Lucas Nogueira, who can't play defense at all. He doesn't move on defense. Can't defend Karl Anthony Towns. Granted, not a lot of people can, but, I mean, it was embarrassing. It was like watching me try to defend Karl Anthony Towns, but 7 feet tall and with better hair. Corey Joseph has been struggling with his defense as of late, so Dwane Casey just randomly benches him for Fred VanVleet, who I didn't even know who Fred VanVleet was. And then, at times, you know, Fred VanVleet will play. And there was a game where VanVleet was the primary backup point guard the entire game, and then in the last 5 minutes, Corey Joseph just randomly brought off the bench. I mean, if you're going to bench the guy. Don't bring him in cold the last 5 minutes. He's done this with Norman Powell, too, where he just brings him in off the bench with 6 minutes to go and expects him to be fine, and isn't because he hasn't fucking gotten into the game until there's 6 minutes left. Brings guys out randomly, puts together weird lineup combinations. I'm so sick of this, man. I really am. This was supposed to be a team that was going to compete for potentially the number 1 spot in the conference. And now, God, it looks like we're trying to tank for the first overall pick. Like, we can't beat fucking anyone. 15-point leads in the fourth quarter should be game fucking over. And instead, I sat there with my mom last night watching going, how are we going to lose this one? How the fuck are we going to lose this one? How do you lose when you're up 15 points in the fourth fucking quarter? And the worst part of this is that now this locker room is in shambles. Why? Because, again, this was a team that 2 weeks ago was in the second seed, and now they've lost 10 of 14. Casey calls same play he always calls down the stretch when we need a go-ahead bucket. It's a DeRozan isolation. Teams have caught on to that. Doesn't work. It never works. Now, Casey defended it by saying it wasn't an ISO because Kyle Lowry set a screen. It doesn't fucking matter. You're still going to put the ball in a player who's not really all that clutch. Let's call a spade a spade. I love DeMar DeRozan, but he's not really a clutch player. Lowry's our clutch guy. But you give it to DeRozan. And he has to pick up his dribble, has to force a shot, misses, rims out. We lose by 1. I cry into a bowl of Cheerios. And DeRozan obviously goes and yells at the referee, looking for a foul. But what he should have done was actually go over and start beating Casey over the head with his fucking whiteboard for calling the same fucking play he calls every fucking time we need a play like that. And like I said, locker room's in shambles, because it came out last night that in the locker room, DeMar DeRozan got up in Dwane Casey's face and started yelling at him. As he fucking should. Kyle Lowry put a really nice statement together where about 4 or 5 times he just took shots at the coaches. And now that I've rambled on for 8 minutes about why this team's starting to piss me the fuck off, now it's about what the fuck we should do. I get to meet Masai Ujiri next week. I get to meet him actually probably Friday or Saturday. I'm going to a conference where he's the guest speaker, and I'm hoping to get some time with him so I can say, 1, get us a power forward so that Casey doesn't have to cycle out another lineup. Another thing, we've now had about 5 or 6 different starting power forwards this year. None of them have really worked. Go get someone. Get Ibaka. I don't give a shit who. Get someone. And 2, Casey's got to go. He's coaching like he wants out anyways, so just give him what he wants and give him his fucking walking papers, for Christ's sake. Are the Raptors going to make the playoffs? Yes. I hope. But God, unless something changes big time, we make a trade at the All-Star break or before the trade deadline, or maybe we just fire Casey and promote Nick Nurse. I don't see us even being really above the 6th seed, which is goddamn terrifying, considering we should be probably the 2 or 3 seed. That's going to do it for today, guys. I'm just sad.